2, 1. We're back now. Probably shouldn't have got the cameraman on the drink before we started, but that's what happens when you do that. Obviously a huge budget here that's shining through. So as we were talking about the top fluck, guys, and how this...
So don't be manipulated.
Well, it just makes it hard.
Manipulated? What do you mean? Well, isn't that what you were just trying to say, that it's a genuine situation?
In a lot of cases, sometimes it is manipulated, but it's if you're taking that product and you're betting in that size.
Isn't it really obviously what's happened here is we've taken control of the top flight market from the on-course bookmakers and given the control of that market to the corporates.
Correct. That's what's happened, and that's what the real worry is on course.
So,
the thing is, I don't think the corporates are going to be betting top fluck anyway, because they don't like the punter that bets big. They want the recreational punters as such.
So we're for the punters. This is where I get concerned on two fronts. One is how can you have information that's compromised? In that, if they're saying that the markets are from corporates who don't let a lot of people on, who bar people and all those things, and that's just factual. And then they say, well, this horse was 6s and a 5s with the corporates. Well, was it? It's not a true market. So in other words, they're compromising their own information. Am I wrong here or not?
No. As I said, Ralph, the whole thing should have been tied in together, and this should have been released when the minimum bet rule came in.
So I guess what I'm saying is what actually happens is a mystery. I think the corporates will continue to bet top flight, Nick. I'm certain they will.
Yeah.
And to think, well, the clients that they want to offer things to, to categorise recreational punters as small punters is a mistake. There are a lot of very big recreational punters that have big top fluck bets with corporates that don't see the light of day. They stay where they land.
Yep.
And giving them both control of those bets and the fluck, to me, is a curiosity. And how it plays out, I don't think anyone knows. So the law of unintended consequences here will be, a space to watch.
It's interesting because it's starting with the country meetings, and you can understand why. The meetings at Wodonga today, and for example, they would have sent someone from Melbourne to Wodonga up for the day, so they've got to pay them wages, travel, feed them, and then there's only 3 bookies on course there today. So in the overall scheme of things, it's not a really reflective market. But on a Saturday, like the ring was reasonably busy there on Saturday. Even you came along, Mickey, in the afternoon. You were upstairs there. I came up and bumped into you up there. It was busy up there. There was business being done sort of there. Like that was sort of a bit more of a vibrant marketplace.
But I have to say that, so Mick might might have steam coming out of his ears at the moment, but this should never have happened. It has largely happened because the on-course bookmakers have sat passively with a protectionist mindset for year after year after year and done nothing to promote themselves, to compete with the corporates, to take ownership of what they've owned for 100 years, and they've allowed it to be taken off them. And now I don't really think they've got anyone to blame but themselves. And they are, between Racing Victoria, the bookies corporate, VBA, and the on-course group themselves, they're allowing themselves to become irrelevant. So, I mean, if they wanted to change, they've got to change it.
See, being on track, in the old days what used to happen, and this is, I'm speaking primarily on my opinion, not on the VBA, or because I'm not on the committee or anything like that. But what used to happen in the old days, people like bookies would go out there and buy your sense type thing, smarter people or whatever, and they'd go out there and they'd put their odds up and they would bet or whatever. And that was primarily what the Victorian bookies did, or any bookies basically. What's happened now, it's changed a little bit, it's gone completely around. There's a lot of bookies out there that don't know anything apart from what time is the first. And they turn up to the track. So basically what happens is they get there, and apart from about 3 or 4 bookies who are very, very smart and do their form and do their markets, what happens, a lot of them just can't get there and they just bet whatever you see on dynamic odds is what's reflective, what's going to go on that market. So, and some of them are blowing because they're saying that we're going to lose a top flat money, or we're betting too bad at percentages or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you went up to a bookie that said, oh, we're going to lose our identity by not doing this, and you said to them, what odds is race 7, number 6? They will know.
So just to marry you both in, sorry if I'm wrong here, Potts, but what you're saying and what you've just described is taxis and Uber. Because while there are some cabs who take great pride in their work and turn up and have their whole life, they've copped a bad reputation because they've been generally shit-house and generally dirty cabs and generally poor service. And Uber's come along with a better model and said, fuck you. And everyone's gone, well, you know what, you don't deserve a lot of sympathy. Yet there's been some companies who have deserved it and have worked hard. Isn't that a little bit similar? That collectively,
very similar.
Collectively, bookies have
And
got the right way?
if I was a racing Victorian administrator and I knew that today I've got to pay somebody to get out to Wodonga, now then Oc Health and Safety punches in, and then I've now got to pay for this person to stay overnight as well, because that's what they do. Once you travel past a certain time, you can't sort of come back on the same day.
But you had
No, not a problem.
But it's okay for jockeys who starve themselves senseless to drive up and drive back on the day with no problem.
What about blokes like me who's starving themselves senseless, and I'm always the first there and the last to leave?
But the thing with jockeys is the jockeys are technically they're self-employed, whereas these other people actually work for. So you got to look at it.
So
that
wondering
way.
around the pedigree at Waggarata.
Oh, don't worry, I'm the same. I mean,
Yeah,
you travel to Bairnsdale, I'll go to Bairnsdale 3 hours and come back on the same day.
So Mick, what you're essentially saying is that the slow migration of the early market to corporate bookmakers, to the dynamic odds phenomena, has allowed the on-course bookmakers to generally become lazy.
Very good.
Right? But even before corporates and dynamic odds were ever a thing, there were always leaders. They were the ones that did their prices, and the other ones followed. Right? That's always been the case. But the problem has been they've allowed their numbers to diminish and diminish, and the ones who've been there have been holding on for grim death to what they see as a thing, and they've allowed themselves to become irrelevant. It's so disappointing.
In saying that, though, Potts, it's not necessarily like the bookies themselves and the VBA have a lot to answer for, but also the structure that they're forced to work in. And Mark Landboard up in Sydney has said this before, that if the states had actually adapted, instead of sending these bigger groups to the territory to go and set up there, if they deregulated it back there in the 90s and early 2000s, then everyone might have had a bit more of a chance to build a business. Like the fact that it's slowly changing now, where you can, if you are an on-course bookie, you can get yourself a home office now,
Yes,
I believe.
correct.
But that's only come in the last 12 or 18 months, isn't it, Vicky?
Probably longer than that. Yeah.
But it's not that long ago where to take a bet off a punter via the phone, you had to be standing on a race course.
But you mentioned Mark. So the second part of the thing that's very important here about the poisonous word, but it's not a pure market. If let's say, and this isn't beyond the capability, someone with a shitload of money turns up on a Saturday, might stick something up his nose, might drink too much, might read the few people that he's got accounts with and can have 50,000 or something. So he's moved the market.
Yeah.
Yet the bookie's let him on because he's got no idea there's a rational punter and away you go. So, to use Mark Lamble, one of the things I really learned from him watching his stuff over the years is the SP is an important
A tool, yeah.
tool. Now, I know I'm stating the obvious to a lot of people who've been doing it for a while, but for me, I relatively haven't been doing it that long. So all of a sudden, if you see 280 in the form guide, you need to know that it's 280.
Yeah.
You need to trust it to an extent. So if it's 280 because that probably four-wide mentioned actually made it fours into 280s, even though the horse should have been fours, and even though he, the smarter punters wouldn't have touched it, and there's fives on the bet bin, let's say, then what's been put out by the own industry is misinformation.
That's one thing that I've been worried about with it, is that SP profile, we all sort of use it, everyone looks at it when you're doing the form, and as you say, you don't want to have there's no part of the form that you want to look at and question.
So Betfair should be part of it, even if it was a double line.
Well,
if you're looking at SPs, you have to cross-reference it with the Betfair SP.
That's what I mean.
So anyway, I just want to say to the bookmakers out there that are watching, if you want to survive, you guys have probably put a lot more thought into this than I have, so I'm not probably telling you anything, but and to our viewers. Bernard Saunders was on Victorian radio last week, and he basically said, well, 98% of the betting volume is now done off course, and we think that the fluctuation should represent that. And the undertone to that to me was he wouldn't care if it's 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, at the moment, as far as Racing Victoria is concerned, to that on-course group and to guys like you, Mick, Racing Victoria is basically consigned you to the. They don't really care whether you're there or not. That's the signals he was giving to me. And if he wants to give a different signal, or if Racing Victoria want to give a different signal, so if what I'm saying is incorrect, they should come out and say that. They should come out and say, we believe in on-course bookmakers, and this is what we're going to do for them. Because at the moment, they're doing everything they can to consign them to irrelevance.
Who are the main advertisers in those?
The corporate bookmakers.
But see, I heard even as of yesterday, I heard that we could, or the on-course prices could still be amalgamated with that. So it's not, and that's what Juppie was saying before. That's one thing I'm disappointed about, is that they've gone, like it starts on Thursday, and we still don't know who the bookies they're going to use. I've heard a couple of corporate bookies that don't want to be involved in it. So basically, we don't know who it is, and yeah.
So the question is, the horse is probably bolted, right? But is there a way forward for the on-course bookmakers? Well, probably not. But if there is, it has to be about there being a vibrant, alive, on-course betting environment. That's about getting as many people involved as possible. Okay, so this idea of having closed rings and not offering incentives to punters to be on course, and they've got to put it behind them, and they've got to create to do everything humanly possible to create a live, vibrant on-course environment that attracts people like me and Ralph and others to bet into it. At the moment, there's no reason to.
There's 2 points that I'll...
So I'm sure the big bookmakers will be saying, with pots we have to bet to certain limits. Yes, that's true, right? There's no doubt about that. But I'm saying if you work hard enough away from the track, you can get around the lack of limits. All right? It's hard work, but it can be done.
But there's a couple of points that I'll take out of there. Mickey, you've been an advocate for the open rings for a while, haven't you? You think that if anyone's prepared to go...
If people want to work, let them work.
The market will sort itself out.
If you close the shop, people don't turn up.
Well, as I was about to say, it's always a problem when you have self-employed people working under bureaucracy.
Yep.
So let me guess, without knowing, if there's forms and there's how much you can pay, and get the queue, and you're going to fucking do this and do that, and instead, what you want is an open market, and what Potts was describing before is an open market. What do people want? Airbnb, they want, they want Uber.
I turn up to some meetings and I say, too many bookies here, and I think, okay, I might have a bet today. Yeah. Okay, or I'll turn up and I'm going to provide the best possible service I can today, because I think there's enough customers there to do it. But if you shut down the shop, customers ain't going to come.
That's it.
And the other thing is, there's plenty that people could be that Racing Victoria and the clubs could be doing. Crampton yesterday was a good example. I went out there. If you were upstairs or out in the sort of main area, there was plenty of tables, chairs, seats, all of that. And all I saw was commission agents, guys wanting to trade, guys wanting to bet, walking over there, picking up tables and carrying them back to the betting ring so they could set their laptops on it, so they could sit down and actually have a space to work in where there was absolutely nothing provided there for them. And the heating was on at about 28 degrees. I was in a muck lather. So it's just little things like that don't cost a fortune, but put half a dozen tables and stools and a couple of PowerPoints in there so that people who want to come and turn over money, which, correct me if I'm wrong, funds the industry, can get there and do it easily.
Wi-Fi for the punters, and then people, instead of sitting at home in their offices, they can get to the track. They've got their computers. They got the best of both worlds. They can bet with the good bookies they want.
There's been a couple of things that there's been some changes that have been made in the last last week that I've noticed. Bit of talk at Geelong there on Friday about the new Racing.com logo, or the Ladbrokes logo, as everyone thought it was, and some of their coverage, including cutting off Dwayne Dunn's Scobie Breesley medal speech to go to the replays of Warrnambool. Thought that was
no, I wasn't watching it.
And then
I heard about that when you couldn't make it up. For me, who lives on social media criticising the shit out of the joint,
yeah.
they just stop giving me so much material. Make it easy, make it showing.
Now, Caulfield are generally a progressive club, am I correct? The MRC there? They put in a new winning post. Did you guys see that on Saturday? The new blue winning post there?
I was getting painted when I was out there on Thursdays.
But did you notice that it was a little bit harder to see the winning post there, Pods, during the day?
No, it didn't occur to me.
Wouldn't be overly worried about it. That gets fixed.
Well, here's something that probably doesn't affect you guys too much because you guys get some Vincecardi stuff. But if you're working on the course times, please don't.
Right.
Because when they put the new winning post in, they didn't then realign all the timing points.
Was this at Sandown Lakeside? 600 to 400 is 6 lengths out.
Okay.
So, if you want to Google a bit of comedy, the Games, which is written by John Clark
Yep.
Ross Stevenson, there's actually right in the Games 100 metres, and there's a classic 4-minute bit of comedy about they couldn't work out why the times were so fast, and the pool was 95 metres long. Just about it. Hey, just back to the graphics. It did remind me of when I barracked from Melbourne Footy Club. Pots now is involved, but about 6 years ago, geez, we're going shit, but they unveiled a new logo.
Is that with your white jumpers, Ralph? Because they seem to be working a treat.
Yeah, but they aren't. So I would say, and list of priorities, a new logo and graphics would be pretty low. Of everything else that's probably needed, but good on you for doing it. And I'm sure that would have been a ripping meeting or PowerPoint presentation.
Well, the part that did work is the fact that they have incorporated the flux for each horse and the form comment as it rolls through when they look at them in the yard. There's a few other details there that look good, but I find that the font's now a little bit too big, and that everyone I spoke to said, why is the Ladbrokes logo on the TV?
It looked like it was made by committee.
And I'm pretty sure Matt Tripp from Crownbet would have been on the phone about 16 seconds after the first thing went up, saying, why is your logo like that now? Because as the main sponsor of the channel, I don't think they'd be too happy.
Well, the thing at the bottom of the screen kept bobbing up in front of the horses in the parade.
That's not ideal,
Okay,
Pods.
and I don't get to every meeting. My man that goes on courses not at every meeting. Sometimes I want to watch, get some idea how they're parading on the TV. Can you not cover them up with a blue blob on the screen?
Finally, we got the drone there on Saturday. Hopefully that can kick on. I like those overhead shots and I'd like to see them. But as you said, Ralph, we need the KISS theory here, keep it simple, stupid. NFL do it, NBA do it, cricket does it, tennis does it. When the action is actually happening, we have one shot. We're all used to that shot. Please don't change it. Do that all other stuff, like you do with the head-on vision and all that after the race.
After the race, because that'd be good, because I won't be watching.
Can I have my cynical comment for the day, Juppy?
Fire away,
cynical
boss.
comment. After the Brownlow medal,
Yep.
who will be on the front page of the paper the next day on every paper in Melbourne?
Gabby Gecko.
The Brownlow medalist, won't it? Or the Brownlow medals will be the big picture, and then the small picture will be the best dress, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? That'll be it.
And whoever's
Where was Wayne Dunn's picture on the front page of the paper on Thursday, Friday, or whatever?
It was probably because they were halfway around in the first race at Warrnambool. It was running 12
Well,
hours
can I
early.
just say to racing, if you're going to try and be AFL, you're wasting your time. I've been saying this ever since I've been on this type of show. Stop trying to be something that you're not, and start getting involved in wagering and looking at the wagering aspects of racing. If you ever employ some journalists that actually try and find out what the stories are behind the big betting on races, you'll find there are a lot of people that are really interested. Seeing a jockey get some medal for some arbitrary voting system, which is a total pile of rubbish, means nothing to punters. Nothing. And I hate to tell you, but your customers are punters.
I thought you were going to say don't drop the drone on the horses like in Brazil.
We should be able to bet on that. Exactly. So two things. One, by extension, if you're going to have a Scobie Breesley medal, just a wacky idea, right? There's a sport that dominates this town called footy. Why the fuck would you have it in footy season? Like, how stupid would you be having it during the Spring Carnival, even though it's the previous racing season, so that you might actually get some coverage? Just a crazy idea. But you're right. And so I didn't read it, and this is not having a go at Matt. I'll tell Matt Stewart if I'm having a go at Matt, I will say I'm having a go at you. So I'm not having a go at
Should we ring this bell?
There's the bell. He wrote a big article about Harry Coffey writing he's riding Prince of
Penzance,
Penzance.
yeah.
He rode it on Friday. I didn't get around to reading it. I'm not being smart, Alec. Did you read it? No. You want to read it? No. Now, we didn't read it for all the same reason. We're busy and we're punters on a Friday.
Yeah.
I have no doubt it would have been a fantastic article. Matt Stewart's a fantastic feature.
Yeah, that's his go.
That's his go. And if everyone I have a bullet Matt and take the piss out of him and he'll have a crack at me back and that's all, whatever, it's because of his lack of knowledge of that. But when I start going down that path, as you just did there, there'll be people saying, oh, what, you've got to get all the stories out of racing, eh? No, we're not getting the stories out of racing, we're just saying it needs both. But at the moment,
what I'm saying is the journalists en masse for 2 decades have missed the real stories, okay?
Yes.
Once upon a time, they used to write about things like the fireman or...
Yeah.
Now, there's Bill Waterhouse's big betting duels with Felipe, whatever his name was, Ismail or whatever.
Ismail, yeah.
All that sort of stuff. That journalists used to actually get into that and find out the characters behind it and write stories about it. When was the last story about any sort of decent betting that ever appeared in mainstream press? It's hard work. It's obviously too hard for all you guys, and you'd rather write about last year's Melbourne Cup winner, which I understand that horse has got some cachet because he's a Melbourne Cup winner, but I don't even know where Prince of Penzance finished on Saturday. I couldn't care less.
All I know was that Harry was criticised for taking inside rides.
There's been a lot of press about that horse.
Yeah.
Okay. If it gets to the Melbourne Cup, it'll be 100-1 again, and this time it'll run where it should.
Can I lay it? Because it owes me 3,000 from last year, so can I lay it again?
by extent, no, but and so I'll give you the counter argument sort of, even though I agree. You look at the newspaper websites have most read columns. When Michelle Payne was having the blue, it was in the top 5, any story. So it is of interest to the community, Michelle Payne or Melbourne Companies or that. What we're saying is, and frankly, it actually gives us an opportunity to make some money for ourselves, which is good. Can't beat self-interest. No one's touching the interesting stuff when it comes to the betting side of racing. Which is what's it. So what's Potts doing this month? What do you got? What's your package? Speaking of the interesting side of betting, how's that? That's called a segue.
Oh, segue. Oh, right. Okay. So
for the product placement.
The last few years, the boys at Wonderful have put together packages for the Spring Carnival, so they've done another one that will be released this week for me and the other characters that sell their stuff through Wonderful. So $550 will get you right through to the Sandown meeting.
That's the Sandown meeting at the end of the carnival, not the Sandown meeting this Wednesday.
Yeah, the Sandown meeting after Flemington Carnival.
So that's
Caulfield Cup, Cox Plate, 1,000, the Guineas meeting, obviously Cup Week, all that. So
Mickey, out of 10, how good was that segue?
That's brilliant.
Speaking of any publicity is good publicity,
yes.
We had the Integrity Department arresting people at the biggest harness meeting of the year yesterday at Breeders' Crown Day.
Was that the Integrity Department or the police?
Police, but it was the police, but it was initiated by the Integrity Department, and the reason they gave was we knew all the suspects would be there on the day, so that's why we decided to do it. Probably about the only thing that would ever get the trots on the front page of the Herald Sun like it has, but that's what's happened over a nondescript race at Cobram on a Monday in June last year.
The prize money for that race would have been massive, wouldn't it?
I would assume it was either 12 or 16,000 or something, 20,000.
Yeah.
Cobram Trots, 3,878.
Exactly.
What, for the first prize?
No, Cobram Trots is asking.
Yeah, Cobram Trots. No, so my point that I always use as an example of integrity concerns, as we saw through the Australia Open last year, those big tennis betting syndicates don't go anywhere near the big players because they're on such a big earn to do the right thing. So the racing industry that over time has put on wall-to-wall shit and paid a tenth prize money and things like that, thinking that it's okay, you just put on as much product as you like and don't provide the best incentive possible to do the right thing, well then it's not that hard to get a good earn to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, good point.
I've got no idea about that race.
It's a good point, Ralph. What you're saying is 100% right. And in this case, I don't know anything about trots, but I say well done to the Integrity Department if these people are proven to have been fixing races or whatever it is they're accused of. Well done, and I hope that you're doing it across racing as well. And if there are people that are up to no good, I hope you catch them as well, because there's nothing better for the industry than people that would consider doing the wrong thing being terrified that it'll mean their participation in the game is finished. So all I can say is well done, and the more of it we see, the better. You know, whether they be jockeys, trainers, drivers, trainers of trotters, whatever they are.
Yeah.
The best thing for all of us is that they think if I pull this one up and I get caught, I'm done.
And so there's two things. There's one way they can put a whole heap of money into integrity, and pay a whole heap of people to raid the shit out of joints and go through betting and all that, which is good that they do. Or they can put all that money into prize money, and you watch how people ride to win or drive to win more often. And I'm not saying that, again, don't over-exaggerate. We need integrity department. People always try to do the wrong thing. But if the incentive to win is $3,800 less costs compared to the incentive to win being $30,000 or $300,000, my goodness, it's a bit harder to get people to say, listen, hook this. Well, why would I hook it? You're going to pay me $10,000, I'm getting paid $100,000 to win. American sports is relatively untouched through gambling because all the participants are on a shitload.
Week ahead, boys. Mickey, we're off to Geelong tomorrow. Sandown Wednesday. What's he doing?
Hillside. I'm assuming the rail's going to be going out. So.
Weather should be right.
Pakenham Thursday. Mickey will be there.
And for the blockbuster no AFL week in Melbourne,
we've got
Moonee Valley.
We're going to have a rather wet Moonee Valley because there's an 80% chance of 10 to 20 mils on Friday.
And we've got the sprint series of the Dogs on Thursday night.
Mickey is the final surviving greyhound bookmaker here in Victoria.
Really?
So
good money?
No, it's a good race. Yeah, what they do is they have two dogs racing off against each other, like horsing, and then the quickest time wins the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really good race.
As a general rule, I don't back anything that can clean itself.
So Mickey will be out there on Thursday night too. Back to Geelong on Friday, and then, as we said, Moonee Valley on Saturday for Dardo Tanchim Nan Stakes, and Ralphie you'll be doing your set, and Potts you'll be doing yours. So we'll be back with the we'll call it part 2 because these can be